Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I'm PJ Trudeau, the HR Roundtable. We're so very happy to have Jean Belmonte here with us, helping us with restoring peace of mind at work after experiencing interpersonal and professional challenges. As I'm sure in HR, none of us ever have any days where we're experiencing any challenging days or anything where it's just we need a break or an opportunity to figure out how do I recover from that? What do I need to do? And that's exactly what Jean's going to be able to help us with today. Jean is a management consultant, an HR generalist, and a creator of the Peace of Mind at Work workshop. She has over 20 years of experience in commercial and nonprofit organizations, including those with both white and blue collar divisions. Her past roles include executive director, in which she first wore the HR generalist hat, and senior sale executive with clients in healthcare, commercial real estate, finance, automotive, federal government, and small business sectors. She currently supports a variety of sectors from government contractors to nonprofit social service. Jean, let me turn it over to you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And thank you, PJ, for this opportunity to be with you and the whole HR Roundtable group. And I want to share that I'm a part of the HR Roundtable for just the reason that was shared, that sometimes I wear this HR generalist hat. I mean, everything from recruiting to benefits management in small organizations, I've had to wear it all. So it's really a joy to connect with you in this way. And I have been on some roundtables when it came up with recruiting issues over the past couple of years. So this is just a joy to connect in this way and share with you something that I believe will be helpful for you and the people that you work with as well. So I also want to share that I'm half Irish, half Italian. And so for me, that means that I need to really watch my script, watch where I'm going, or else I could rabbit trail into good places, but we won't get through everything otherwise. And I really want to give you a lot of good information. I want you to be able to have a breakout session together. Really excited about that. And so I ask that you also hold your questions until the very end. We'll also have a little bit of time before the breakout session, but I so want to share so many good things with you today. And so diving into our topic, we could say that definitely all stress causes distraction. And you all responded to PJ's question with a variety of stressors. And for the purposes of this particular presentation, we're going to focus on the stress that can happen after experiencing professional and interpersonal challenges. And these challenges are ones that happen at work, yes, but maybe at home, among neighbors, among the greater community as well. And the stress happens after a perceived offense. The offense kicks in, and then anger and worry and bitterness and negative rumination and those sort of emotions and thoughts can kick in. And that's what I summarize as distracting stress. So when you hear that term, think of that residual angst and distress that can happen after a perceived offense. And so as a manager, as you all as managers, I imagine that, well, some people come to you in a state of this distracting stress after experiencing an issue at work. But other people simmer silently, right? And so what can you do for them, and what can you do for yourself as well? And so I'm going to share a tool that is really practical for you and your workforce to help reduce that particular type of stress and then restore the engagement that can be lost, halt the burnout process that happens when these sort of negative emotions build upon one another. And therefore, you're going to be building some resilience as well. And it's an empowering method, and it's a very personal method as well. And we're going to also have time to hear what you have to think about how to solve this problem of distracting stress. You all have your own experiences and your own knowledge as well. So you'll have the opportunity to share it. This will not be a monologue at all. Now, because you have the opportunity to share this problem and talk about the distracting stress, there are benefits to doing this and to reducing it. And it's good, obviously, for you and your associates. Yet making the knee-jerk decisions that can happen, those knee-jerk choices to reduce that sort of stress, well, it might not be good really for the long-term recovery for yourself. And instead, you can use a two-step method of stress reduction while at work, not waiting until you get home, and not waiting until you quit your job either, okay? And so you know already, especially in your particular field, that coping well with stress of these personal and interpersonal and professional challenges, well, they're critical not only for your peace of mind, but also for excelling at your job. So studies show that after a perceived offense, there is this loss, there's this decline in performance. And in addition to that, there's also a loss of time worrying about it. 80% of the people share that they have lost time worrying about what had just happened. And so for how long does this sort of distress happen? For how long do we lose our performance level? Our employees lose their performance level. How long do we spend time worrying about it and all the other elements of that sort of turmoil that can be part of our negative rumination? Well, I say shorter the better. All right. However, maybe for you, you don't experience these sort of reactions to interpersonal challenges, or at least not for so long. However, might your coworkers, people you know, be a part of this 65 and 80%? And I have to admit that I completely relate to these stats. I have definitely felt an immediate flash of anger and fear after a personal or perceived offense. And then my mind has definitely gone in the direction of, and my emotions of anger and bitterness. And I've disengaged. I've pulled back a bit. I've been less productive and less creative as well. Spent time ruminating as well. So it wasn't good for me, and it certainly wasn't good for my coworkers as well. So I want better personally, and I want better for all of us. And so that's why I'd like to share this two-step method. And the method is the opportunity that we all have to understand the basic human needs that drive the choices that we make, the choices of which strategies that we choose, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and the physical needs that we're filling. And then the step is to then choose and identify and put into action specific strategies that fill those needs to reduce that particular stress that we're feeling. And so in the process of it, right, incrementally, as that stress is going down with each strategy that you choose, there's that opportunity of the re-engagement, of stopping that cycle of the emotional strain. So that's that burnout cycle that you all are aware of as professionals in HR. And then, yes, this tool can be used to build that resilience. So as next challenges come, you can go to it. You can identify more quickly a need that is depleted and be able to fill it with the strategies that you have raised awareness of that can fill it. So speaking of these strategies, personal favorite, absolutely personal favorite, there is comfort food. So there are studies about comfort food. And in fact, it's in the International Journal of Gastronomy and Food Science, in which they speak about comfort food definitely helping to reduce elements of distress. And they speak about, so many of the respondents share that when they eat their idea of a comfort food is that they have a recollection of a memory of belonging, a memory of being in community. And because of that, the emotion of belonging increases. And so that's increasing. And then the negative feelings that were there at the time are decreasing. But as we know, eating comfort food, the effect, can only last so long. So we just know that there are some other strategies that can last longer and be applicable during the workday as well. So we're going to look then at we're going to just set a foundation of the strategies and what they're all about. So I call them stress reducing strategies. And they're the actions or the series of actions. They're how we may modify our own thoughts and reactions to a situation in order to meet the unpleasantness of it, meet the stress of it. And the strategies, what we're going to focus on today, particularly involve that conscious and directive approach to solving the problem. And the problem here is that distracting stress that's happening. And so we're going to dive into a case study, and there's going to be an exercise to follow as well. and then, into your breakouts and all. So are we ready then? A little bit of thumbs up for ready to go into the case study, because we're moving fast. But are we there? Any good visuals? They're all happening. I don't see any thumbs down. Thank you. Awesome. So I will go ahead and read this case study very closely, because once again, I want to stay on track for the sake of you all in this terrific time that we have together. So Sam is finishing 1 year as a first-time human resource manager at a busy hotel, and is in the midst of an unemployment hearing with Judge Riley. During the proceedings, Sam asserts evenly the employee filled out an application stating that he was available to work for several shifts, including early morning and weekends. After several months, he was fired because of poor attendance. In response, the employee claims there is a lack of timely public transportation for some of the shifts. The judge responds in an aggressive tone of voice against Sam, stating, "Your attempt to deny the individual employment is not valid. Your hiring practices and expectations are not fair to employees." Sam's jaw drops. Sam's mind is flooded with anger and fear. Sam feels angry because it came across as a very personal attack. And Sam feels fear because thoughts like these are coming to mind. How will this case impact future cases? Do I approach the director of HR and suggest policy changes? But don't we have to have the same expectations of employees and be consistent to stay within the law? I can't believe the judge just came at me like that. This is not fair. Well, while heading back to work, Sam begins to ruminate, lacks focus due to these replaying of negative thoughts of this situation. And there's another hearing to prepare for, but Sam would rather delegate it. After the workday, negative ruminations continue, and sleep is a little bit restless. And the next day, Sam is in a state of residual anger and bitterness and some worry. The cycle of distracting and negative thoughts just remain, and the muscles are tense, and Sam is not so engaged at work. So this ends this case study. So Sam is not in a good state in heart and mind, and professionally not going in the right direction as well. Productivity is in the tank besides so many other elements that are happening. So before we start the small group, I just want to consider this one element, is that maybe Sam could end up in the same state of stress when an offense comes from a colleague. And if it were to come from a colleague, Sam may think, I want some justice at work. And through policies and organizations' policies and procedures, well, that's where Sam would go to. And I state this topic because there needs to be an understanding, that foundation, that there's an individual responsibility to problem solve. And this is so key because organizations, policies, and procedures can only do too much. And you know this as HR professionals. You live it every day. And so you know that these policies and procedures are intended to serve the organization's mission and to serve the law. And so they can only do so much, which you are well aware of. And I want to share with you that I do touch on this topic with every presentation that I share, because it's just that important. So here's the exercise, the small group discussion question that you have. Basically, during the working hours, we're going to narrow the time in which the stress reducing strategy can be applied. So you're going to have a narrow time focus, all right, during the work time of when Sam can apply strategies. You're going to brainstorm these. It could be strategies to use that day. It could be the next day, maybe a few days down the road if this residual angst is still there. And Sam is, so motivated to release more of it. And of course, there's the short-term ones. Of course, comfort food is always valid. But then there are other ones that can be more heart and soul, a little bit deeper as well, that you can go into. And so in the small group breakout, please choose a scribe. All right. So choose the one who's wearing the most blue. All right. Make it easy. And then brainstorm, share, 10 or healthy, 8 or 10 healthy strategies that are applicable while at work. And then the scribe, definitely group the similar strategies together, like, definitely share all your fun comfort foods or exercise routines and all of that, but then summarize, right, as falling under exercise or falling under comfort food, things along that line. And then the scribe is going to report out. And when the scribe reports out, just one unique strategy at a time, it'll probably just take you 30 seconds. It's going to go really, really fast. And so once again, here's the big question: brainstorming the strategies that can be done either that day or in a few days from then. And then the opportunity to go into a breakout, and here's what you'll do in this breakout. Now, are there any questions before you go into the breakout? You can share questions in any way, either speak up or into the chat, anything before PJ lets you all have a blast. It'll be about 7 minutes in the breakout, in which you all fun brainstorming, taking notes, and then also definitely identify the top 7. As I said, go deep, go to the gut level, the heart level, and your educational experience in it as well. All right, people are going in.
Okay, everybody should be back from breakouts.
Terrific. Well, welcome back, everybody. I hope you guys had, that's my jersey coming out. I hope you all just had a terrific conversation among one another and just got the juices going and flowing. And so I need to know, though, the names of the scribes of each group. So would the scribes please put your name in the chat, and then I'll take them down so that I can call on you. So that would be terrific. I think we have 4 groups. So let's see, Davika, right? And then, oh, Sylvia. Christiana. Is it Oleg?
Yep.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Awesome. We'll go ahead and start with Christiana, because you begin with a C. All right, so no favorites there. We're just going in a random order. And the fun challenge here is to just share one unique strategy. And then the next person is going to take their turn and look at their list and share another unique strategy that the person prior hasn't said. And it's going to go like that. So as a scribe, you're going to go down your list and you're going to say, oh, that one was said. Oh, that one was said. Oh, this one wasn't said. Right. And so that's how it's going to go on your end. And you'll also get to see and hear the similarities of what other groups are talking about. It's much fun. So Christiana, go ahead and unmute. And really, what's the first strategy you'd like to share?
It's Christiana.
Oh, Christiana.
And the strategy I think that was pretty thematic amongst the group was refocusing.
Refocusing strategy.
And hopefully my group agrees with that. If not, please.
Well, I'm sure there's many that you came up with, but you all feel that's a good way to summarize it. Terrific. Thank you. All right. Then number 2, Davika.
Hi, everyone. So our group really focused on getting ahead of the issue early by creating a game plan and strategy for either addressing it or moving past your emotional connection to the situation. So either adopting, a plan to address it or adopting a level of detachment, as you can't control the emotions of others and how they're going to perceive you and and you can just deal with it internally, and how you manifest your way of action in that situation.
All right. So in order to, mural, I can only put so many words on there. So what do you suggest? So adopt a plan.
Adopt a plan or strategy, whatever.
Okay. And then also, though, you mentioned like two different elements, that there was an opportunity to the plan to move past it as well. So this
Yeah,
combination.
so it would be a combination based on what your personal preference is. Do you want to make a plan to actually talk with the individual, speak with them about this, and try to gain clarity in that way? Or is that something that's been exhausted in the past and you just feel like that's not really an option here? So do you want to go internally and just work on, like, I feel upset, I feel like this, but I know that this is a feeling and feelings will ride through and I will get past it. So whatever your game plan looks like.
Might that be a way to summarize it? Adopt a
Yeah.
plan to take action or address emotions?
Perfect.
Might be a way. All right. Awesome. All right. Oleg.
Our strategy, or one of the strategies we had, was a nutrition plan. So whether that's meal prep or focusing on whatever meal that you have at work, so fruits, vegetables, nuts, things like that can help reduce a lot of the stress and calm down the system.
Okay. Thank you very much. Nutrition plan. Excellent. All right. And Sylvia.
Our group started small and right at the moment, and then got sort of expanded out. So we started with deep breaths.
Okay.
Take some deep breaths.
Yes. I'm gonna put that also under exercise, because that's going to come up. And
Yep,
it's
kind of
excellent.
deep breaths, take a short walk.
Yep. Breathe. Wonderful. Wonderful. Awesome. So let's go back around, and Christiana, what's another strategy that hasn't been said yet that you'd like to share from your group?
I'm trying to think of a way to summarize it nicely in one or just a couple of words. Something that got conversation going a bit more in our group was when we discussed time away, so scheduling time away. I don't know how I would define that, I guess, with one or two words, but maybe emphasizing personal time or work-life balance, maybe something along those lines.
Okay. Oops. All right, thank you very much. Let's go back to Davika.
We said to journal or write it out.
So journal the experience, the feelings, the whole thing. Okay. Journal it. Awesome. And Oleg? Is there another one from your group?
I sure hope so. Our strategy was listening to something soothing, music, maybe mental health, yeah.
Right. Listen to soothing music. Awesome. And are there any other, strategies that any other groups would like to share that haven't been mentioned yet or don't really fall under this bucket? They're unique to their own. If anybody would like to pipe up, raise your hand and share as a group leader. Anything else came up?
I'd like to bring one up that I think resonated with our group, which was kind of self-talk. So proactively telling oneself that not to take it personally or that everything's temporary.
Okay. Self-talk, positive self-talk. Positive, that is wonderful. Did anybody else have anything? Christiana?
Yes, I had one similar, a bit more expressive, but talking with a trusted advisor, a confidant, or a mentor, and getting some other strategies in terms of coping.
Terrific. Any other leaders have anything to share? Because we've covered a lot. Well, we're over the amount. We're not to 10, but we're definitely over our minimum of 7, which is awesome. So thank you very much for sharing all of these. And as you can imagine, even with like a longer ramp up time, and then some other, some more time in this discussion, how even deeper the strategies that can come to light can come. But we are in this short period of time. And so we have now an opportunity to look at the reasons why, because in an extended session, that's what you would do. You would also be looking into, well, why are these working? You'd be peeling the onion, as they say, and looking at that reason why. And so that reason why really brings us to the other step in the two-pronged method, which is about raising your understanding of the basic human needs that drive the choices for those strategies. Y'all came up with excellent ideas, and they feed basic human needs. And that gives us the opportunity to, by using this process and raising awareness of these needs, and matching them with our strategies, that's how we can also choose our strategies very purposefully, very diligently, because we know what we're going to get out of them. We've pulled it together, and that's when we slow things down. And we've also done the homework. We've really explored this much more deeply than we can today. But when we connect those dots. And so that's what we'll do just briefly as a so late level, y'all, but that these emotional human needs, these mental human needs, these spiritual and these physical ones, studies mention that they can be filled through the workplace. And we fill them all the time without even thinking about it, right? Y'all mentioned these wonderful strategies. Well, let's just take a look at them briefly and just, connect one of the dots. You mentioned here talking with a trusted advisor. So when people go to talk to a trusted advisor, it could fill all different sorts of needs. This is how unique this comes. But what we can do right now is just imagine that we're Sam. And Sam just had this experience in which, the emotional bucket is depleted. It just got a hard hit. And the need for feeling valued, and the need for belonging, because Sam is starting to pull back a bit because not really sure if this is possibly the right even industry to be in anymore, and there may be this policy change or not. There's some tension there, and so this need, this bucket of the emotional needs has been drained. And so how could it be filled? Well, we can imagine that Sam would choose to go to talk to the advisor in order to reduce that particular stress, knowing that this particular advisor is a really good listener. Like Sam is choosing this advisor for either to receive advice, as an example, or Sam needs a really good listener, right? And that's very personal and what you need to fill yourself. but Sam knows that this particular person is a great listener, and it's just why Sam is going to go to that person. And Sam knows exactly what's depleted and how this person in particular can help. And that this opportunity, when also meeting with this trusted advisor, as you all mentioned, to get advice on other strategies and possibly talk about the policies, right? Sam is in this state of wondering, should I even propose other strategies, other policies or not, right? And so the mental distraction, the negative rumination that's been going on around that, and even the feelings about the judge, well, the mental need for focus can be filled by talking with this trusted advisor. This opportunity. So in this conversation, this focus on, this policy discussion can happen, and that'll change focus. And in doing that, it's a relief. It's a relief in itself, to being able to focus on something positive, which was mentioned here as well. So in that one particular strategy, many needs can be filled. We're just imagining what they can be in this one example. And same for spiritual. In Sam's situation, a need for purpose. So studies speak about a sense of purpose being filled through the workplace, through either your actions in the workplace or even what the workplace does. And for Sam mentioned the love of this sort of work, the love of hospitality, really the love of HR. But right now there's this dilemma. The spiritual purpose is being has a ding in it, this dent. It's feeling a bit drained because of this experience. And so talking with the advisor is a way for Sam, as we imagine, to fill this spiritual need, to gain clarity as far as where the HR element can fall in line with Sam's values and love of the hospitality industry. And there may be an opportunity to fill that need, the spiritual need, by talking with the advisor. And physical needs, well, when you're reducing the mental and emotional stress, well, studies do show that your physical body is taken care of. You all are in this industry, how much depth there is in these elements. And these are the elements that go into a personal action plan, with much more depth that can go into it, of course, when there's a longer discussion. Yet we have brought up some of the high points, and we've made an example of how they connect with your basic human needs, and the opportunity, once again, that in the future, yes, I would grab the chocolate bar first to relieve the initial stress, and then say, all right, where am I depleted, especially over this incident? And which need can I fill right now? Who's available? And that comes to this element as well. You as managers may be approached, right, by people who are in this state. But you might not be there at the moment. You're just not available. And maybe you're pretty sure, given their pattern, that you're likely one of their stress reducing strategies. They go to you, but you're not available. Well, the opportunity is to guide them back to their basic human needs, filling them until you can be there for them. But there are many other strategies that your employees and yourself can access. And when your number one go-to strategy isn't available at that time, you have raised awareness of the other ones that can be filled, but you're also going to look at really where your tank is the most depleted, and be able to work with it in that way. And so incrementally, the reducing of that particular distracting stress and restoring the engagement and halting that burnout cycle from that particular type of distress. And therefore you have a tool for building resilience, because these things happen. So I encourage you to examine a basic human need that may feel depleted at this time, and scan your strategies and think about which one may be the best one to fill it, in order to take care of yourself and reduce your particular stress. And then there's an opportunity to share this with others, because the 65% that experience a decline in performance and that 80% that has this sense of worry, that's the majority. And so when you share this with others, you're likely going to hit the spot with folks that are in that state at some point or another, and maybe a bit longer than they need to be. They're looking for ways out, and they're there. They actually have the answers themselves. So we now have an opportunity for some questions, just overall comments about this experience. And so please share. Trying to see where everybody is too. Anybody's hands up or any sort of just chime in with a discussion if you like.
Jean, I would definitely say that, especially in the HR profession, that we've seen quite a bit more burnout, and those that are finding themselves even more stressed now than they were previously. Have you seen, just in the work that you've done, an uptick? Obviously, everybody's stress levels went up with COVID, there's no doubt. But, have you overall seen it increasing and finding that individuals are having to come up with other ways, other coping mechanisms, other than just saying, I need to change jobs?
Yeah, so the burnout, as we know, can happen due to truly workload, right? And when that is the case, then there's also a couple of steps that would need to be taken to start to address it. Because as we looked at the definition of coping strategies, there's definitely concrete things to do. And so that one would be yes, to possibly ask, seek, look to address the overwork. How can that at least be incrementally changed, right? So that's an action item. And then the concurrent of, okay, and in the midst of all this, where am I so depleted that I need to feed myself, right? And which strategies am I going to use? And the interpersonal challenges with one another through work, as I said, outside of work, in the greater community, they're all over the place, guys, right? As I said, I relate to those stressors. And so the opportunity here is to just stop that burnout cycle that happens when the negative rumination about Judge Riley continues, and the negative worry about how I feel about this job in itself and the policies of this organization, the relationship that I have with coworkers. So those negative emotions that happen very often due to those challenges, when can they get lessened, right? Because the burnout happens when they don't get lessened, right? That every day they just build upon one another and they don't come up a little bit. And so that's why this opportunity of really raising awareness of strategies that work for you individually and really understanding why they work for you. And that has so much, it's just very personal. And, but it's what makes the difference in halting that cause of the burnout process.
Looks like Oleg has a question.
Jean, I just want to thank you for this, because what I realized in you sharing and even creating the breakout groups is that there is no magic or ultimate formula for any of this. I think so much of it is just based on individual and the type of stress that they face in their lives. I think how you presented this with, using a calm sense of language and then giving us the opportunity to even express that within our groups was just genius. So not necessarily a question, just more so of a comment. So thank you for that, for creating that.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Tony?
Yeah, I'll echo Oleg, but at the same time, I am a little bit curious. So if you can scroll back up to the basic needs, there's 4 of them. And so I'm curious, as you talk to people, even for yourself, if you were to think about it, knowing that this is very personal, of course. So we have, I think you said mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. It's 4 pillars, right? So I think about a chair. Chair can stand on 4 legs, but it can also kind of have a good foundation on 3. If you were to call out 3 for yourself, and when you talk to others that you've seen have increased resiliency or like overall have helped people the most, what would your call outs be in an example of each? So long-winded, but I'm curious.
Well, I report out what others share, because this is a facilitated conversation. It's not a prescriptive one, right? So I set baseline of what studies say can be fillable through the workplace, like these 4 needs. And the element of the physical need, as I summarized, was that a study show when the emotional stressors are reduced, the mental stressors are reduced, it's a break on the body, right? And it's really an ongoing element of, oops, the stressor went up on that. Let's work to bring it down. The body is thankful, right? You're not generating that angst at the time. You're giving it a break. And, you know, in the discussions and such that we hear, that element of speaking to others is a very common strategy that people use. Yet why they do it and exactly how it works for them will differ. And that's what makes digging into the variety of emotional needs that are out there fillable at work becomes quite rich. And the mental needs that can be filled at work becomes a very rich and dynamic conversation as well. And the spiritual needs, talk about a giant bucket. You know, there's an element of having a sense of purpose, but there's so much more than that people do fill at work. And as I just use that one example of Sam with the manager and having that struggle of a sense of purpose for this particular job and wondering if it's right anymore. There's, having your sense of purpose intact is motivating for our work. And maybe the sense of purpose is you're a helper. You're just driven as a helper of people. And so you want that outlet. So that's a whole different type of spiritual need, but it all falls into that world and having that sort of outlet and filling it in that way. But it's so unique, and it's much longer than this particular presentation, but I hope the examples that I gave through Sam are helpful with that, because that does express how others do connect those dots and have those buckets filled for them. So I hope that was a little bit helpful.
Appreciate it.
Jean, thank you so much for providing us these not only tools, but resources and ways that we can think about things. I know we talk a lot at the HR Roundtable, an area that is of definitely an area of concern that I always see from HR standpoint is that we're so busy trying to come up with ways to help and to help find ways to help others. And I think that a lot of times we don't apply those ways to ourselves as well. So it's something that we want to always make sure that as we're doing these great things to help others, that, like you said, that you also are able to look at applying those as well internally. But it's great to have the discussions about it and to have the tools. And we certainly do appreciate it in your time. And thank you, everybody, for joining. And hope everyone has a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you both.
Bye.